Beautiful time in the world of sports. Good evening and welcome to Game On, a program that brings you up to speed concerning happenings in the world of sport. And today on the show, we'll be talking about a lot of things, lots of actions. Don't forget, a series of events are currently happening right here in Nigeria, in Africa, and not forgetting the world at large. And of course, as usual, we always have a full house when it comes to Game On. But I'm Favour, Itua, and I have got two wonderful gentlemen in the studio with me this evening. But first of all, my far right, I've got Adebari, a man, of course, in-house sports correspondent who is always here to give us the best of the world of sports. Good evening to you. Welcome.
Thank you, Favour. It's a pleasure to be here.
All right, you're looking different from what we saw on Monday.
On Monday, yeah, I was trying to switch it up, depending on the way I'm feeling.
All right, and my immediate right, a man who just came back from a journey that, of course, bettered a new club, Ughelli Rovers. Wale Adigun joins us this evening. Welcome back from Ughelli.
Nigo.
I mean, you must have had a lot of starch.
Yeah, I had some. I had ebb as well. I had owo soup. I had banga.
Of course.
Then I had this delicacy called banga rice.
Wow. Wow. So, no wonder we didn't see you in
the real world of banga rice in banks.
Wow. Interesting. I mean, Ughelli Rovers, a new club.
Oh, yeah. And we had the unveiling ceremony on Tuesday. We had the king of Ughelli Kingdom also in attendance as well. It was fantastic, and basically this is us trying to use football as a tool to uplift that community and develop players as well and set the standard, you know.
I hope we will not go the way of clubs we've seen over time, whereby they start so well, at the end of the day, they go into oblivion. We already know them.
Oh, yeah, I agree with you. Van Dresser, I mean, the classic example is Favour.
Yeah, of course.
Came in 2016, won the Federation Cup, and after that, I mean, went into partnership with West Ham, remember? Yeah. And they went into oblivion. But see, we have seen all of this. We've taken a lot of lessons from it, and hopefully, lightning doesn't strike twice. There are challenges, no doubt, we know. There are challenges at that level of football, but we are well equipped.
All right, the sporting director of Ughelli Football Club says he's well equipped towards the journey, NLO, the NNL, the MPFL, but of course the trouble still lies when it comes to Nigerian football. Now let's go straight to business. We'll be starting with athletics this evening and talking about the Paris 2024 Olympic Games. Kenya at the moment, they've released their list for the long distance race, especially talking about the marathon. Defending champion Eliud Kipchoge will lead Team Nigeria's men's marathon team to Paris 2024 Olympic Games. Athletics Kenya has already announced Kipchoge goes into this one as one of the favorites in terms of what he has done in the past, and a lot of persons will be looking forward to him in this particular one. Don't forget, he went out of form, but he's one of, if he goes to this particular Olympic Games, he'll become the oldest marathoner to have successfully defended his title at the Olympic Games if he wins this one. And joining him will be, of course, Tokyo champion Benson Kipruto, Timothy Kiplagat, Alexander Mutiso, and Vison Ngitech in this order. While looking at Kenya at the moment, they are really preparing for the games, and they've already released their athletic squad for the event.
It's a deadly squad. You've got Eliud Kipchoge, that's absolutely a legend of a marathon, who is aiming to win 3 Olympic titles. He wasn't successful in Tokyo. I think he had 4 starts, they ended 10th. He's had a strong or a decent start to the year as well, but Eliud Kipchoge is absolutely a legend of marathon. I've seen him this year as well. I think last year was in Berlin as well. So I think that in Eliud and the other guys in Getich is just 18 or 19. They are definitely going to steal the show in Paris, no doubt about it.
All right, Toby, let's look at this particularly. The Kenya athletes are preparing. The Athletics Federation in Kenya also have released the list. But right here in Nigeria, after what we were able to do at the African Games, it's expected that we should be looking forward towards the Olympics, especially in the track and field event. But up till now, what we hear is that the athletes are still looking forward to get their bonuses from the last just concluded African Games, and why other countries are looking ahead of the Olympics.
Yeah, I think that's the difference between Nigeria and other federations when it comes to preparation. We always have these issues. There are a lot of last-minute, should I say, plans and last-minute, how will I put it now, last-minute miracles that always need to happen when it comes to Nigeria and big events in this manner. And just like you said, for Nigeria in athletics at the African Games, which is our stronghold in the history of the African Games, we did so well. And then you would expect that with the brilliant athletes that we had for some events, just like athletics, we should have had our list out. But obviously, a lot of things going on behind the scenes. And I do believe that there are some athletes who did not participate. To be more precise, some foreign-based athletes who did not participate at the African Games, they'll be looking forward to getting into form and then, just getting the attention of the coaches, and hopefully they can make it to the Olympics for Nigeria. So a couple of weeks more for us, and let's see what happens.
All right, let's see what happens when it comes to the 2024 Olympics. Now, still talking about the Olympic Games, away from athletics, now let's go straight to wrestling, where a case of what has been happening in the last few years, talking about Russia and IOC, the International Olympic Committee. And what we are hearing right now is that another Russian athlete, this time around a wrestler, will not be allowed to compete at the wrestling qualifiers. Now, Russian wrestler Abdulrashid Sudulev, a two-time Olympic freestyle wrestling champion, has been banned from competing in the qualifying tournament for the 2024 Summer Olympics in Paris, according to the Russian Wrestling Federation. Now, the qualifying tournament will be held in Baku, the capital of Azerbaijan, from 5th to 7th of April, and athletes who reach the final will receive a quota for the Paris Olympics. Now, according to the Russian Wrestling Federation, I quote, after another pseudo check, the International Olympic Committee has published new list of athletes who were not allowed to take part in the international tournament. Unfortunately, the captain of our team, a two-time Olympic champion, Abdulrashid Sudulev, was among them, according to the Russian Wrestling Federation. And before, of course, our guests and our in-house correspondent react to this particular one, we'll go on a quick break. And when we come back, we'll talk more when it concerns the Russian Wrestling Federation. Welcome back. You're still watching Game On and Favour Itua. We still have Wale Adigun and not forgetting Adebari in the studio. And before we went on the break, we were talking about the IOC and the Russian wrestler who was not allowed to compete at the Olympic qualifiers as regards wrestling. And the Russian Federation has come out to also emphasize and also talk about this particular issue. Now, the young man is 27 years of age. He's a decorated freestyle wrestler with 2 Olympic gold medals. I mean, the issue surrounding Russia and the International Olympic Committee has also affected young athletes. And the question is, before now, the IOC says you can actually compete as neutrals, but it seems they're about taking it a step further. Okay.
Yeah, but then when you take a look at it, aside the issue with the IOC and Russia, I think in most recent years, we've had an issue where Russian athletes have had issues with doping in particular. So that has a track record. And then moving over to what is going on between Russia and the IOC as well. So it seems to be that it continues to spat over, majorly because right now the friendly games are also set to happen later in September. And then the friendly games, the winter version of the friendly games also want to happen at the same time that we're going to have the Winter Olympics. So it's quite clear that Russia has a straight ambition to, in fact, they've got 2 ambitions. Number one, they want to impose themselves on the IOC to get their athletes back and to get proper recognition. Also, they also want to compete on the same front with the IOC when it comes to the Olympic events.
All right, Wale, we've been seeing different bodies in the world of sports calling for banning of Russian athletes, from Ukraine, from different countries in the world. Yeah. Don't you think that the issue is not well handled when you look at the fact that some athletes who do not even know what is happening with the country, but by default they are from Russia and they just need to do sports, but they find themselves in this corner of not being able to compete for their country?
It's a case of when 2 elephants fight. Only one thing suffers, and it's the grass. I was suffering here at the athletes who had the collateral damage here, and unfortunately for Sudulev, who's got 2 Olympic titles. In fact, he's got 5 world titles to go with it. It's well decorated. He's got caught up in this. I understand he wasn't even allowed into Romania for a competition last month. We've been told even if he gets to Azerbaijan, because there are another round of qualifiers for the Olympics, they obviously have said they would not allow him to participate. And basically, it's collateral damage here. But it is what it is. The IOC's war with Russia looks like it's never ending. It's a 2-pronged war. It's a war of Russia's widespread doping scandals and also Ukraine's war, with Russia. So there's a lot going into this. Russia have shown over time that they are not going to back down, backed by their president, Putin. And like you said earlier on, the friendly games is an instant response. So not instant, but it's been a response coming because the standoff between the IOC and Russia have been always going on. But it's unfortunate that Russia, who used to be a main staple when it comes to international events have now become, in quotes, bastards, when it comes to international. It's unfortunate.
Yeah.
Really
So
unfortunate.
fortunate for what we're having in the world of sports, particularly to Russian athletes and the country at large. But still talking the Olympics, we'll now move on to something a bit interesting and what went down today in Paris, France. Now, ahead of the Olympic Games, the swimming arena, that's the aquatics arena, was today inaugurated by the President of France, Emmanuel Macron, alongside Seine-Saint-Denis Olympic Aquatics Centre, that's the venue, but then alongside the Olympic Committee President, Tony Estanguet, Ile-de-France Regional Council President, Valérie Peresi, and Greater Paris Metropolis President, Patrick Ollier. Now, this is a 180 million euro center. Will host water polo, diving, and synchronized swimming competitions between the 26th of July and 11th of August. Now, the interesting thing about this particular center is the fact that in the years before the bid was launched to host the Olympics, leaders of the Seine-Saint-Denis department just outside Paris had lobbied for a pool to aid an area where statistics revealed that 60% of the 11-year-olds in the region were unable to swim. And here we have it, a beautiful edifice right here in Paris for this community, and not just for them, but of course for the Olympic Games, Wale.
Oh yes, lovely. It's good to see. And once again, this is confirmation or testament to how much the taxpayers, have invested into the Olympic Games. Because it was just last week that the French government revealed that it cost over 3 billion euros of taxpayers' money to ensure that this Olympic Games is going to hold. So credit to the French taxpayers who made this happen. But the most important thing in here is that we also know that swimming is going to be a very key sport at the Games. It's always very key. Unfortunately, Nigeria is always in the mix.
Unfortunately.
But we're going to have Egypt in the mix. We're going to have South Africa in the mix as well. So we can't wait to see them dive into this edifice and then hopefully win Africa some medals.
Swimming is one sport that gives a lot of medals when it comes to the Olympic Games. But sadly, like Wale Adigun said, I mean, when it comes to the Nigerian aspect, we tend not to have our swimmers compete at that level. And we have a lot of them from the riverine areas. You go to Bayelsa, you go to River State, even some part of Ondo State, but we only say that we can swim, but we're not where it's supposed to happen.
Yeah, so generally, I think when it comes to Nigerian sports, we have our strongholds, we have our area of focus. I think, first of all, majorly football. That's the biggest one. And then we don't just spread our area of focus. I think swimming is one aspect, or rather one sport which you need to invest in. Because if you don't invest in it, how do you want to see returns? Yes, over the years, we've not had professional Nigerian swimmers competing at the Olympics. And that's because we don't harness the talent, in my own opinion. So if we are serious about it, if we say we do want to focus on it, we will be able to bring out top-notch swimmers. But then you need to enable them, you need to equip them and give them an enabling environment.
But what's the essence of the National Sports Festival? I mean, you have Ife Ezegbe. I remember she's from Bayelsa State. She won at least 8 gold in Edo State, when Edo State hosted the National Sports Festival. And our coach is a one-time Olympian, I think Sydney 2000. But we keep having these games come up every now and then, but we cannot produce a swimmer for Nigeria that would go at the highest level from Nigeria.
Because it takes massive investment. The National Sports Festival is just a tiny part of the whole process. Yeah, because at that level, it's probably the basics. You know, at the global level, it goes past that. Look at what France have done. What the Aquatic Centre they've built is not just for the Olympic Games. It is a structure that will outlive the Olympic Games, that will help also with developing more swimmers. Yeah. We don't have any here. The question is, what aquatic center do we have, even in those riverine areas? What has the government in that area, or some people say, okay, fine, we come from the river area. Can we have something that helps our people to harness their talents? And because we have people that swim in the river area doesn't mean that they are good swimmers. At this level, it's not about living in the riverine areas. Trust me, these people, do you think they lived in riverine areas and they qualify them to become swimmers? No. It's because they've gone through, I mean, coaching itself. Look at the girl who came to the African Games, the Egyptian. Okay. Yeah, I think she's 16 years old or so. She's being coached by one of the best coaches in the world, who's American. I can't remember her name right now, who was in the center of a scandal sometime last year. That is the level you have to go to. That's what Egypt have invested on. So we are not ready to do that. So if we're not ready, we have to be content with discovering that girl you've mentioned, and it just ends there. Last week I was here, I talked about the girl who came from Anambra State in gymnastics.
Gymnastics.
She was 13. And if you look at the lifespan of a gymnastic athlete, he ends at 18 or 19. You can't find a gymnast at 24 because of the physiology.
True.
But she was discovered at 13. Where is she right now? Where is she? We don't know where she is. So it's because we don't develop. We can only see talents. We can only discover them, but we don't have the willpower to be able to go the next step and the next step.
Well, we can only hope and hope that we do things right in this part of the world. I mean, when you look at swimming, it provides you with lots and lots of medals. There's the freestyle, there's the relay, the different type of styles, the backstroke, the butterfly, and these are the series of events that gives you. And then just like Wale Adigun said, I mean, you talked about the aspect that you don't really need to live in the riverine area. You look at South Africa, I don't think they have that demography like what we have in Nigeria. But then you're able to train.
You having the interest. So if a young child has the interest to swim, where is that enabling environment for the child to harness the skill of swimming?
Yeah.
And there's a difference between what we have in hotels compared to an Olympic size pool.
There's also what they call the open water swimming, which I think we should be suited more to. But you also need another level of exposure, training, competition to be able to even compete in the open water, because in the riverine areas it's not a swimming pool, it's an open water basically. So, but we don't have that. So even look at the swimming federation. What is going on with the swimming federation?
That's another one.
That's the other question.
All right. In the coming days, we'll see what would go down and what will happen, to our federations, especially in the aspect of swimming. Away from there now to the world of tennis. While we are still trying to prepare and hoping that our athletes get to a particular level in the aspect of sport, Saudi Arabia is really doing a lot in the world of sport. Now, they started with the world of football, went on to boxing, and now they are currently in the world of tennis. Now, Saudi Arabia will host the WTA finals for the next 3 years and offer a record prize of $15.25 million US. Now, the event featuring the top 8 single players and doubles team of the year will be the highest profile tennis tournament held in the country. The WTA came close to staging the 2023 finals in Saudi before going to Cancun in Mexico. And this year's final will take place from the 2nd to the 9th of November in Riyadh. Interesting times ahead for Saudi Arabia. They seem to be taking the world of sports by storm. Okay, looking at boxing, football. I think at some point in time they delved into golf, and now they're really doing a lot in the world of tennis. Yeah,
their government is very, very much focused on developing the country in terms of sports. I think for many years we always knew Saudi as maybe one of the oil rig companies, but obviously they want to diversify their economy, and they're doing that brilliantly well. We've seen the way they did it in football. First of all, even hiring someone like Michael Emenalo to focus on development of football generally, and then we've seen the influx of top players going into the Saudi Arabian League, and we know that it's doing very well right now. Now we've seen it in other sports, but even to the future, they are already setting the pace for it and securing birthing rights to some of these events. Hosting WTA finals 3 years in a row, I think it's a huge difference, and they're going to make an impact in the world of tennis. We've seen it with boxing already. They've been hosting huge bouts, and I think sooner than later, they will take over when it comes to pay-per-view in the world of sports.
All right, Wale, about 2 years ago, it was said that whatever Saudi Arabia was doing was just going to be like what China did in the world of football, but they seem to take it a step higher every now and then, from football to boxing to golf, now to the world of tennis.
That calls it diversifying, right? Amnesty International calls it sports washing. And credit to Saudi Arabia, they've done it really well. Because they've held it down with football, LIV golf, that's Live Golf, there's Formula One, there's boxing. In fact, every level of racing, they're already there. So although they got a bit of some resistance from the WTA Tour, because I remember that earlier this year, Martina Navratilova and another legend of titles, Billie Jean, who wrote in the Washington Post and talked about the fact that they don't want the women's game to be associated with Saudi Arabia. But the WTA Tour have said, hey, we can only make the best decision for the players and the fans, and that decision is to accept this money, because you look at how much is coming in, about $15 million prize money, and that's a massive you know,
it seems whenever they want to kick against it, the organizers will tell themselves, do you have the money to pay us?
Of course, it's all about the money.
Yeah,
it's all
I was
about the
just
money.
when Wale said making the best decision, and at the end of the day, the best decision is in terms of finances.
In fact, Saudi Arabia should have taken the WTA finals last year, but because of the resistance, they took it to Cancun, and the Cancun WTA tour was a bad decision. The tennis score was poor. The players didn't enjoy their time in Mexico here. And I think Saudi has also thrown in something, a sweetener in here. Same-sex can share the same room. So, I mean,
so I've
everybody's
seen
happy.
They've started to adjust to certain world standards.
No, they're not adjusting.
They're not adjusting,
they
but
want
they're allowing
acceptance.
it. Exactly. So
Yeah.
the acceptance. I think the first example has to be with Cristiano Ronaldo and his partner.
Oh, yeah.
They're not married, but then they've been allowed to live together legally.
We did not get this raised eyebrows from the Arab nations. I know you fully aware that they are still holding on to their culture, their religion.
They are the biggest in the Arabian Gulf. Yeah, Saudi Arabia dictates it, and I thought that at a point in time, you know, the United Arab Emirates, Qatar wanted to take charge of football. Qatar hosted the World Cup. I see how Saudi Arabia responded. They responded by trying to host the World Cup in 2034 or 30. That's how they've responded, you know, to all of these things. And back to tennis, I think that the ATP itself has opened up another sport for 1,000 Masters that will be hosted by Riyadh as well from next year. And that's a lot of money coming in. So the Saudis have done this well. They've scripted this well. If you call it sports washing, you're correct. If you call it diversification, you're correct. If you talk about developing sports in that region, you're so much correct. Kudos to them, honestly.
Kudos to the Saudi Arabia guys that doing a lot in the world of sport, and a lot of players might still also move when it comes to the world of football. You know, when you look at the transfer market, you're surprised that for players who are still around their late 20s, running straight to the Saudi Arabia League.
Well.
I think I saw Maxim, the former Newcastle player in the Saudi Arabia League, and you ask him how much of you still have a lot of time to play your career, but you're going to Saudi Arabia. I think it's going to be the new hub of maybe football talent.
Yeah, I mean, that conversation has been had, but also recently we've seen a couple of players go there and quickly realize that this place is not for
Jordan
me.
Henderson.
Yeah, Jordan Henderson is a classic example, but some have embraced it. Look at Cristiano Ronaldo, he has embraced it. A couple of other players too. Neymar seems to be enjoying his time despite injury. So, and Ronaldo is seen as the attracting factor.
True.
So if Ronaldo is having a hell of a time, then why
I have this question now. Should the European nations be scared of what the Saudi Arabian country are doing in the world of sport, not just football? Should they be scared? Because, of course, when it comes to other sports, you also talk about the continent of Europe and some part of Asia and then North America or South America. But now
they shouldn't really be, because the hub of talents in any sport right now is still in Europe. You know, what Saudi can only do is attract them over there. You know, and trust me, to be short-lived, because I thought if Saudi were doing this to also help their own sports develop, their own talent, it would have been nice. But I think that Saudi, in terms of talent level, the talent pool is so small.
True.
So the only thing they can do is bring them over there from Europe, other places of the world, and try to give themselves a facelift. But they won't be scared. UEFA is not scared. I don't think
If anything, I think the Europeans should be afraid of the fact that UEFA might just want to go into partnership with the Saudis.
UEFA?
Yeah, honestly, and don't be surprised. In a couple of years, you might see an Arabian club, a Saudi Arabian club to be precise, competing in the Champions League.
don't forget the Super League that was proposed was kicked against by UEFA and some of the world bodies when it comes to the world of football. Would they agree this time around?
Time will tell. Money is a factor.
All right, money is a factor, and of course, time is a fast running. I will go on a quick break, the first half of the show, and when we come back, we'll be talking football all the way. Welcome back. You're still watching Game On. Don't forget, you can be part of the conversation via social media handles, YouTube, X, and not forgetting, of course, Instagram. All right, now straight to the world of football, and they say charity begins at home, and we'll start from our own club in Nigeria, the only representative when it comes to the CAF Confederation Cup. Now, Rivers United got into Lagos on Wednesday evening, and just about some hours ago, they flew away from Lagos to Algeria. Now, one thing is interesting about this particular, part is the fact that Confederation of African Football has reiterated its ban on the usage of fireworks in any of its competitions ahead of the quarterfinal second leg tie involving Nigerian side USM Alger and Rivers United. They will both lock on Sunday. That's, of course, at the Stade de Juillet in Algiers. The North Africans have, however, warned its supporters against the use of banned substance in the game. Now, guys, Wale Adigun, this is something we've always clamored for when it comes to playing against North African side. The use of laser lights, the use of fireworks, flares to, try to disrupt the activities of the away side. Now, CAF is saying we don't want to see any of that, but something in me is still telling me that it may not even stand.
Trust me, you're going to see fireworks. And CAF is not going to do anything.
Wow.
But what CAF has done here and what Rivers have done is go through the standard procedures. But they know that at a point in time, if they're probably comfortable or they've probably won, the fireworks are going to come out. But CAF has just tried to put in some safety, measures out there. But I mean, the crux of this is not about the fireworks. It's about what Rivers United should be expecting in Algiers, for that game on Sunday, because we know that the Algerians are frustrated. First of all, we didn't allow them play at the time they wanted. They wanted to play at about
3 p.m.
5 p.m.-ish.
Okay, yeah.
Closer to them breaking their fast, but Rivers United, stopped to 2 p.m. And it's all about the dark arts, about playing the mind games, about trying to also look for the little margins. And I thought that Rivers United didn't utilize it much because, they scored in the first 10 minutes of the game. And they had another 80 to at least to have gotten a goal or maybe 2 more. And that's why I feel that Rivers United might rule this, but they will be expecting the worst. We know what to expect in North Africa, the antics, the officiated, the dark arts from the players as well. So Rivers are very much experienced.
And I'm not forgetting that they might even get to Algiers and will find it difficult to get out of the airport, or they might take them around the city.
They should expect this. They're experienced. The coach is Stanley Guma. Guma has seen it all. I mean, continentally. So he knows what to expect. So I don't expect Rivers United to get to Algeria and start crying and start lamenting that this is how they're treating us. You knew what you signed up for. But the big question is here, fireworks or not, can Rivers United also bring their fireworks on the pitch in Algiers on Sunday?
All right, this is not the first time we've had our Nigerian club sides. Whenever they go to the north, it seems that they lose the game even before going. We see series of press releases, either from before they go or when they get there, they tell the world, oh, they were not allowed in, they were restricted, their players are still in the airport. Remember the COVID era, we also had players, club sides who complained of their players testing positive to COVID-19. Now we're hearing about the fireworks. I hope this might not be an excuse for Rivers United, but we hear that the game will be played around the region of 10 p.m. Nigerian time. So we expect it to be very, very cold. But can Rivers United do the unthinkable in Algeria?
Sadly, I don't think so. For me, they should have put a much better statement at Uyo. I think they had 80 minutes to do something great.
Some would say the rains came around the later part of the game, so it was a bit cold for them.
At the end of the day, I felt like they should have learned from their previous ties in this tournament so far. I think even before they advanced to this round, it was in the second leg of the last tie that they were able to turn over the game. So for me, going into this game against USM Alger, the defending champions, you should know better. My problem with Rivers United is the fact that sometimes the players lack concentration in games, and then those few lapses always cost them goals. But then the problem is that they then create chances, but they don't have clinical attackers, in my own opinion. So for me, going into a hostile environment now is going to be more difficult for them. They're going to be facing 12 men, because the fans are going to be there, and it will be difficult for them. And honestly, with all due respect to them, I don't see them turning over the game against USM Alger. I would be hoping for them to prove me wrong, and I'll be happy. And I will admit that maybe I was wrong with the prediction, but it's up to them to turn the tie around.
Same thoughts from you?
Yeah, I think the last time Nigeria went to North Africa, they got a draw. Maybe the chance, remember? They took in penalties and lost on penalties.
That's true.
Yeah, and that was a difficult game.
I think Asoclef.
Yeah, it was Asoclef
as well.
So it was a difficult game for them, and that was this season as well. In the early stages of the CAF Confed Cup, Rivers United have to go there and be solid. They have to go there and know that we can't afford to concede early.
Against the defending champion.
Yeah, they have to go there knowing that the crowd is going to be up from minute 1 till the end. And that is my problem with us on this side of the country. We claim we love football, but yet we cannot create hostile atmosphere for the opposition anytime we play from home.
That's it. It's going to be difficult.
Look at Uyo that day.
It was just.
But trust me, it was going to be capacity stadium at that Stade Juillet. on Sunday.
And then you're not going to have fans of Rivers United. You're not going to have so many of
So
them. in
you
the
have
stadium
a
either.
handful, maybe 4 or 5.
So
just to say
even
we
the
are part of
players
the team.
get to that pitch and they've lost it already, because when they look at the crowd,
Yeah.
they look at the tifos, they look at the ultras, they look at the fireworks you said CAF was going to
Get rid of.
It is a hostile. You've lost badly. You've considered the goal in your head already.
mentally, you've lost.
Rivers up
right.
against it. Really up against it.
All right, we can only hope this part of the world, and we hope that Rivers United will get their job right and not defend, because of course you say you're leading 1-0 into the return leg, and then you start defending. That might also cost the team. Remember the last time they went to Algeria against CR Belouizdad, they lost scandalously. That's Rivers United. Now, still talking football, we'll take a switch now to Cameroon, where something important is happening in their football. Now, just some days ago, Cameroon football or Cameroon Sports Ministry did appoint a coach, Belgian Marc Brice, as the coach of the national team to replace Rigobert Song. And the Cameroon Football Federation, led by Samuel Eto'o, came out to say that they are not aware of this appointment, and this is not what they will accept. They were not carried along, and the National Federation cannot recognize this appointment made outside any legal and regulatory framework. Eto'o is Cameroon's all-time leading scorer, of course, was said in a statement released. Meanwhile, the federation known as Fecafoot said it regretted not being involved closely or remotely in the selection process for the new coach and his staff. Now, joining us all the way from Limbe, Cameroon, is a sports journalist, of course, with Cam One Television, talking about Aka Ntui, joins us this evening. Good evening to you. Welcome to Game On.
Yeah, good evening, Favour. Good evening to all the co-panelists in today's edition of the program, and I'm happy to be with you here today.
All right, let's go straight to business. Cameroon football, yes, we know Rigobert Song is no longer the coach, and earlier as of yesterday, we hear that the sports ministry did appoint a coach for the national team, and Samuel Eto'o came out to say he's not aware, he's not carried along, and will not recognize the appointment made by the sports ministry. What is really happening with the football situation in Cameroon?
Favour, you and I know when Côte d'Ivoire in Ivory Coast, where we saw the dismal performance of the indomitable Lions of Cameroon at the Côte d'Ivoire Ivory Coast expedition, the Africa Cup of Nations, and it was not what was expected from so many fans from Cameroon. And if you look at the report card of Rigobert Song at the helm of the indomitable Lions, it has been so disappointing. And prior to the appointment of Rigobert Song Bahana, Cameroon had the coach in the person of Antonio Conceição, Portuguese-born, who took Cameroon to the semi-finals of the last Africa Cup of Nations hosted by Cameroon. But in the process of 4 months to the end of Antonio Conceição's contract, while the government of Cameroon was trying to see how they can renew the contract before the World Cup, Samuel Eto'o unilaterally terminated the contract of Antonio Conceição. And these are some of the root causes of these problems we are having today in Cameroon. Yes, the federation has the right to terminate the contract, but just 4 months to the end of the contract. And then Rigobert Song was appointed by the federation or by Samuel Eto'o as the FA boss. So why not, at the end of the day, Antonio Conceição decided to sue Cameroon to the Court of Arbitration for Sports, or the Federation for the Court of Arbitration for Sports, and then Cameroon will be doomed to pay close to 3 billion francs CFA as damages of a breach of contract, and also breaching the contract also with kit manufacturer Le Coq Sportif, of which Cameroon is going to pay another fine of close to 7 billion. So all these financial commitments, all these, the federation doesn't pay all these monies. These monies are coming from the government to pay this legal, all these bills that the federation has let the government of Cameroon into. After that, this
so are you saying that the sports ministry were right to have appointed a coach for the national team without considering the FA of Cameroon?
Okay, the text governing the decree that was signed by the head of state, President Paul Biya, governing organization of sporting activities in Cameroon, had been revised, and it says that the federation has the right to how do I put it, to screenshot or shortlist candidates for the coaching job of Cameroon, and it has to be in accordance with the Ministry of Sports and Physical Education. And the Ministry of Physical Education, Sports and Physical Education validates, and then the federation goes on to sign the contract. And the second option, it says, or the state of Cameroon has the right to appoint a coach if it deems necessary. If in case the federation does not put a level playing ground in which can cause instability, civil instability in the country, then the state has the right to intervene and to appoint a coach. That has happened in 2008 when the then German-born Otto Pfister became the coach of Cameroon. He was appointed by the then Minister Augustin Itua, who is no longer the minister today, of which the FA boss refused to recognize that, but later on, they had no choice because after all the appointments, it is the government that pays the salary of these nominees or these coaches that have been appointed. Even if it's the federation that appoints a coach, it is the government that pays the bills. So this time around, after a dismal performance, the rights of appointing a coach, most of those rights were taken back by the government that was given to the federation because it's like they had how do I put it? They had misused the powers given to them, and the rights were taken back by the government. But still yet, they still can appoint the coach, but this time around, because of the dismal performance of the Indomitable Lions of Cameroon in the just ended expedition in Côte d'Ivoire, the government decided to take its role to appoint the coach because there is an article that stipulates that the state has the right to do so.
All right, so Aka, I wanted to, I understand the plight. The body language in Cameroon is like they are supporting the government in this situation because Fecafoot hasn't covered itself in glory. It happens in Nigeria over time, over the years, where the sports ministry has always been at loggerheads with the NFF over a couple of appointments. But I want you to talk to the fact that why do you think Samuel Eto'o also hasn't fallen on his sword? Because the foundation of all this happening also has to do with Samuel Eto'o fees, who also has been involved with corruption allegations surrounding Victoria United, betting allegations as well. I heard it resigned at the point in time after the AFCON, but in quote, the board members said no, they don't want their boss to resign. Why do you think Samuel Eto'o fees has not been able to look at himself and say, hey, I've not also covered myself in glory, it's time for me to resign?
Well, you're perfectly right, my brother, because if you look at the entire tenure of Samuel Eto'o within the ranks of the Cameroon Football Federation, everybody, myself inclusive, every Cameroonian thought Samuel Eto'o is going to revive football in Cameroon. But that has not been the case. Being a great footballer doesn't necessarily mean you are a good administrator. Administration is totally different from being a great footballer, and that is what Samuel Eto'o failed to understand. We attended a seminar together with Favour in Abidjan, organized by CAF, and one of the speakers of that, Favour, if you remember, one of the speakers of that seminar of CAF legends was Daniel Amokachi, and he made us to understand that he would always give thanks to his big boss, that is Stephen Kechi, because Stephen Kechi taught him a lot. That being a good footballer doesn't necessarily mean you are going to be a good coach. Immediately you put it in your head that you have been a good footballer and you are in the coaching field, you know everything, that's when you lost it. That's where Samuel Eto'o lost everything. And he thinks that being a good footballer translates into being a very, very good administrator. No, he has not been the best. His tenure has been filled with corruption, a lot of corruption, match-fixing allegations, concerning Victoria United, and signing with the betting company as one expect as an ambassador, of which you are an FA president. It doesn't sound well.
All right, Ntui, the conversation, of course, continues, but of course, time is not our friend this evening. We wish we can talk all along, because if we stay here, we would not end about talking what is happening right now in Cameroon football. We want to thank you for your time. We hope that Cameroon football will be stable in the next few weeks or next few months. At least we want the best already for Cameroon, a powerhouse when it comes to football in Africa. Thank you very much for your time, and I hope to hear from you soon.
You're welcome. Thank you so much.
All right, that was Ntui talking about the issues surrounding football in Cameroon, guys. Of course, we've said, he said a lot of things about what is happening in Cameroon football. But in space of 30 seconds, Cameroon football, they said the sports ministry is right. Of course, they pay the coaches employed by either the federation or the ministry.
Definitely, I do understand that, but for me, I don't think politics and football should be mixed together. But it seems like politics and football cannot do without each other. It seems to be looking like a symbiotic relationship. But at the end of the day, I think the most important thing is what happens on the pitch, and I hope that they're able to revive their football on the pitch.
All right, today in Abuja, the Super Falcons of Nigeria and the Bayana of South Africa had the final training session ahead of the first leg qualifiers, the final round ahead of the Paris 2024 Olympics. And the Super Falcons had a full house with all the players arriving, before that training time. Likes of assistant Oshola Chiwede as well, and not forgetting the compliment of the coach, who of course have been with the team in the past few days, and quickly they're looking forward to this big one. But South Africa have been training, but Wale Adigun is still optimistic that Nigeria can pull up something on Friday. But let's hear from Coach Adigun what he had to say ahead of Friday's game.
We don't really look back at what's happened the last 2 matches, or really the last 10 matches with our opposition, because I think what we've worked with our players is to be present now in the moment with what we have. I think if you look back at those last 2 matches, if you look at our roster, it was a completely different roster than we've had since the World Cup. All
right, quick one, guys. You just heard from Randy Waldrop. Can we still go ahead to beat South Africa tomorrow with the players, some of them arriving just today?
It's backed by feeling. It's not backed by statistics or anything. I just get the feeling that we're going to win. And
okay.
For me, no. The South Africans have been training for over a month, and we just got to camp a couple of days ago. So for me, no.
All right, let's get some updates from football in Europe. Games played just about some minutes ago. Liverpool against Sheffield United, 3-1. Of course, that game ended. Currently, Manchester United leading against Chelsea by 3-2. And in the Spanish La Liga, Granada will take on Valencia. That game is currently on, and it's goalless at this time. But of course, time is not our friend. But as usual, before we go, we have to talk about one man who decided to go on a hunger strike. Talking about the 2013 the CSK Sofia fan named Boris Borisov took matters into his own hands by starting a hunger strike in an attempt to get a lifetime ban for a Bulgarian referee. Now, Stanislav Todorov, the referee, was banned by the Bulgarian Football Union with accusations of a match fixing after his performance during CSK's defeat to surprise package Cheno More Vana. Now, the fan is saying, lifetime ban. I'm not going to eat. I mean, it has to be banned for the referee.
I need someone to go on hunger strike for the referee.
Honestly, a lot of Nigerian officials, if we can.
All right, a big thank you to Adebari for coming to the studio. All right, and Wale Adigun, always a pleasure having you.
Great to be here, great to be here.
All right, with me is a Favour Itua. I want to thank you very much for watching.